Esports have been really, really good at having Tian calling the shots. They're hovering over that Sejuani, and while the LPL has largely been an AP farming meta, this Sejuani has been an absolute wrecking ball for Tian in the one game that we've seen from him so far. It's first pick locked in. We've seen this about the place. We've seen it in bits and pieces from so Aki on NIP likes this. This pick, the Renekton, I'm surprised it got through the bans. I think top lane matchup could be so important. And the Renekton, because it is such a lane-dominant pick for two magnificent players of the champion, is going to be very, very valuable throughout this series. Wouldn't surprise me to see that locked in.
I hope you're ready for the Gangplank Renekton answer. The old classic or Quinn up there in the top lane.
Bring back Zoom.
Yeah, I mean 369, him and Zoom, they were the ones trading it, you know, back in the day. That's a little while ago now. Has Ashe also been left open and available? So often banned here in the LPL, but Elk can grab that. Possibly goes to On, but I would anticipate Elk.
I think it's going to go to Elk, and I think now top users might even need to have to consider taking away Braum, because I think Ashe Braum is a disgusting combo. It's also very, very good with the Sejuani. I don't think you can allow that to go over to On that side. Of course, it could be towards that support, but I feel like that's been the best that we've seen that duo come through. Top Easel's hovering over a whole bunch of stuff. They're locking the Jace and the Azir, so this is likely both solo laners locked in. 369 saying, all right, it is carry time. Jace versus the Renekton and top side, spicy top lane matchup.
Certainly is. I'm just saying, Azir top has been played within the last couple of years. It's not totally out of the question for a ranged top laner. I don't think 369 is the guy, though, to be honest. I do expect that Azir to go to the mid lane for Creme. And over to the side of BLG, we've already seen it a couple of times today. Nidalee, a powerful pick, and Shun's hands, some of the best in the world at it. It will be the Renata in the end alongside Elk's Ashe.
So it's not going to be the combo that we've typically seen from the LPL, which is the Ashe Braum. Ashe Renata is disgustingly lane dominant, though the level 1 is very powerful with the loyalty protocol, and then also the volley as well from the Ashe. So top esports who haven't locked their bot lane yet might lose themselves stuff like the Leona, of course. That's one of the most powerful picks. Wouldn't surprise me to see them lose something like the Varus or something more lane dominant too, and they might find themselves in a difficult position. Ezreal, also a worthwhile ban here. Something that puts top esports into a position where they can't just safely farm out or combat this bot lane.
There's a lot of picks that when you play against Ashe, you get hit by that volley for just a second, she will chase you down the lane. It's really difficult to escape that fight. The attack speed that Renata gives the Ashe as well makes it really, really difficult to be able to contest or to be able to escape. Kind of rock and a hard place sort of situation. The fight taken away from Shun, though. I feel like we really are seeing a big meta shift here in the LPL with the fight taken off the Sejuani first picked, and it is going to be that Kindred taken away from Shun as well.
And this is why it is so great to see our top teams playing together here. One big thing which is obviously missing from BLG is magic damage right now, so we have to see whether Knight or Shun is going to pick up something along those lines. I haven't particularly loved Knight on a lot of the AD mid laners. I think that's been one of the reasons his form has wavered recently, but it does mean that it would just stop Shun from going towards AP junglers. He goes towards that Nidalee. You have Nidalee Renekton, you have the Ashe Arrow as well for Sata. It's a champion which he's played an awful lot, but it is pretty difficult to play, especially against the team as organized as top esports.
Top esports have just looked absolutely absurd in their form. We already saw an Ornn hovered earlier on Meiko. I think one of the best Ornns in the league, weirdly enough, as a support. You wouldn't expect that to be the case, but he just doesn't seem to miss CS. JackeyLove, we all know how terrifying this center can be. It's a 100% win rate. He's got 11 KDA across 4 games this split. And Meiko, I mean, the Nautilus would be available too, but I feel like Meiko's been so comfortable on this Ornn. Again, also 100% win rate because this is the combo they keep playing.
Also, you're into an Ashe, you're into a Renata. They can't escape that Ornn ultimate. They haven't locked in something like a Braum, which could lock out that Ornn ultimate as well. So top piece was fantastic late game or mid game team fighting. Last pick tonight. It looks like it's an early game composition from BLG. Does Knight want to go towards something that can snowball a bit in that mid lane? He hasn't played this for a little while in summer, but he might just be the very best player in the world at that Ahri. The LeBlanc also being hovered. I think they need something early game to snowball with all of these hovers, different flavors of it. Sadly, not going to see one of those Ahri or the LeBlancs. I'm going to see that Yone instead, which is probably his best of the AD mid laners that he's shown, but it's still not necessarily been his comfort.
Certainly has found games against the Azir over the years, though. We've seen times where these melee assassins, things like the Yone, the Akali, the Sylas, can find their angles and punish Azir in the mid lane. But Azir, Creme's first like control mage that he was able to pick up and start to become proficient on in that mid lane when he first transitioned away from just assassins, now will be tested against Knight. But I'm looking at the top lane, man. Jace versus Renekton, 369 versus Bin. There's just no way that's not entertaining.
And the fact that top lane has been a determining factor in so many LPL series recently, and we have the two of our very best top laners going at it, this should be an absolute treat. So often you can sleep on top lane. We've had the Cassante versus the Skarner. Nah, Renekton, Jace, these will snowball very, very hard. I think what that means is that because it is such an intricate 1v1 matchup, the second a jungler gets a good angle up there, it could determine so much of the game. Tian, Shun, early pathing also on the menu right now, because if they manage to influence one of these lanes, and Tian has done that very, very well recently, it could flip such a snowbally lane into their advantage.
Well, it's time to get into game number one, isn't it? BLG versus Top Esports here. Their first series each of this Ascend group. Both of them dominating within their groups. Top Esports flawless. BLG losing that one fateful game against LGD. But now the real games are afoot. Now we're into the main group stage of the LPL. And Top Esports and BLG playtime is over. It is time for a serious matchup. This is a matchup that could change everything for playoffs when it comes to head-to-head. Top Esports, BLG, it's time for game one. All right, off the bat, we're in trouble here. 369 slowed by the Ashe. The center slow to respond, but 369 pulled in after the flash. And first blood for Knight. You couldn't ask for more for BLG.
Jace goes down, Jace loses flash, and in the snowballing matchup in top lane, BLG take less than a minute to make their mark on this series. This is the matchup we were saying that Top Esports should maybe get the upper hand in now. Top Esports have looked better than BLG, but we've been asking, okay, we're in the Rumble stage now. We have to turn on the heat. Are you ready for it? The fact that they get that kill, that very, very important. Playing without a flash into the Renekton Nidalee is a bit of a death sentence. If Shun can get up there in time for Bin to get himself another stun, that could be so, so huge. This started as a 5-man level 1 stack. You often do that versus ranged top laners to get brush control, stop that Jace kind of dipping in and out to drop minion aggro. They do that, and 369, he just doesn't respect this enough. Gets the move speed change from going in towards that hammer. But as you said in Champions Select, one slow from Ashe is all it takes at that level 1. Runs him down with or without that flash. Great punish from BLG, starting strong.
Really nice flash from On as well, like understanding that 369 is going to flash away. Flashes almost exactly the same time and finds that handshake to start the game strong. Elk and On now forcing Prio down in the bottom side against this Senna, and Ornn, nothing he can do against double ranged here for Senna Ornn. And it will be a slow win in the bottom side for BLG to start us off here. JackeyLove already chunked to half as well. Fantastic little start for BLG. Obviously, Knight will be pushed in the mid lane, and up top, 369 will be able to get an early advantage as Jace against Renekton.
That's the early advantage. The thing is, with this kind of composition, with the Hawk shot, you can spot out the Sejuani, and by knowing where the Sejuani is, it gives Shun some extra options, BLG some extra options. I believe that's the fan button on the screen in terms of who they think is going to come through, but already JackeyLove just getting absolutely monstered out of this lane. BLG do need to win early game with this composition. They have dominant early lanes, potentially, that can snowball, but they have to make that happen. If Top Esports reach 1-2 items, I think the team fights are going to be very hard for BLG to play, so they need to keep on this kind of tempo.
I feel like On has been one of the players on BLG who's not necessarily been on his greatest form so far this split. Turns out this game, he's on a really good form. So far, so good on the Renata. And, you know, Renata, a pick that I think On really changed people's perspectives of him on. You know, when he first came into the league, he was the Rakan guy, he was the Alistair guy, he was the Nautilus guy. And I feel like Renata was the first enchanter where he really started to separate himself from the pack and show everyone that he wasn't just an engaged support. You know, this is a guy with serious potential. And, you know, a couple of years on now, it's one of the very best in the world.
Absolutely. You know, back when he was on Weibo, he had a couple of real stinkers back there, to the point where the community was saying, oh no, not this guy losing his games. This guy single-handedly won BLG so many games. And now BLG, they have grown into a team which can absolutely snowball around that bot side. The fact that they have this early lane dominance definitely helps them. They need to keep this up, because we know exactly how well JackeyLove and Meiko can play when they're ahead of the game as well. So BLG yet to make a big power play outside of that level 1. It's just been kind of ping-ponging some waves back and forth. We haven't seen Shun get a farm advantage over Tian. Sometimes the Nidalee can absolutely blow a Sejuani out of the water, even on the first clear. Shun is, the Nidalee very, very good against those tank matchups. Trying to make a play happen now, though, with that jungle support rotation and the Hawk shot, giving him the map hacks.
Tian spotted. Shun, at that point, decides it's time to move into River rather than trying to get into that lane. On has moved up to the top side of the map. Grub's not up for another 90 seconds, but Tian manages to sidestep from the spear, but a smite from Shun will take the Gromp now, threatening a potential dive onto 369. He still doesn't have flash available. There's only 3 caster minions, and Tian's in the area and will be called off by BLG.
I think it's pretty hard to make a dive like that, because Toppy is also packing the extra teleport. They have that on Meiko. Yes, was sat down there on the bot side, but because Tian was seen on top side, hadn't taken a chunk, and you have that teleport, it's quite hard for BLG to make that play. Much better to just kind of walk away with the Gromp steal and call it a bit of a smaller win rather than the bigger one, instead of falling prey to what Top Esports could do in regards to those globals. JackeyLove now out on the map as well, so he's trying to make sure he's present and keeping one of BLG's lanes pushed in.
Quite an important recall denial there as well, as Knight has that TP available. Creme has already reset and come back to lane, so Knight sticks around for another wave. Now we'll go for that recall, but importantly, Grubs are up in 30 seconds. Drake already onto the map. So the mid laner from BLG heading back to base right now isn't ideal for the squad.
He does have the teleport, which of course Creme has just used. Knight needs to wait for another break in the waves. It's like if you've ever been surfing, you get like that little break in the set of waves. You kind of need that. That's your cannon wave, right? You push that in, it makes it easy if you get that recall and teleport back in. He's doing so again now. Another Hawk shot coming through from Elk, keeping that information on Tian updated. BLG really need to keep using that, because that's what's really going to give them that extra drop on the first play on the map.
Elkanon continue to push in. Shun now revisiting this bottom lane. They know Tian just recalled and the spear hits onto Meiko. The dive is underway. Meiko with a double knock-up and the root comes through as well. Top Esports outplay. On goes down 1-for-1. JackeyLove flashes to safety, but it's answered by Shun, who grabs a double on the Cougar.
Oh, BLG, they do a bit of betting on the stock market and they get bailed out by on the Renata. Dies under the turret, but that's only cost that comes through. Luckily, Meiko can teleport back into that lane. But what did we say about BLG? They need to get that early dominance and they need to keep playing through that bot side if at all possible. It's what their players want. It's what their champions want. BLG get some kills. They're going to trade the objectives afterwards. Yes, the grubs going over to Top Esports are quite nice for them, but given that BLG are kind of playing towards the early lanes, I think they're pretty happy to use that to leverage into a soul condition as well if they can stack up multiple early dragons.
Feels like a fantastic start for BLG. 1,000 gold lead, they got that first drake. Oh, a
arrow!
Spear from across the map, an arrow from Elk into the heart of 369. Bin, he has his 1v1. It's not really a 1v1, it's actually knocked away from Tien's ultimate. And flashes for an easy kill. Bin making him look daft in the top side. Dashes under tower. Elk with the layup and Bin with a home run.
Taking out the trash, Renekton gets so many empowered abilities onto the Jace, and sadly for 369, it hasn't really felt like his own fault, but BLG have just managed to slam dunk onto his lane. He said that the Renekton needs to get ahead of the Jace if it's all possible. An arrow like that is an absolute top draw way to do it. It is absolutely across the map. Robin Hood, Elk nails Jason. You can see that Bin here manages to manage his rage really, really well. Pops his dominance, gets the armor shred for the empowered E, waits until the rage stacks up, the stun is ended, gets an empowered W after that point, and after this, uses the last tick of his rage again, get himself that last empowered ability, using every single one of his abilities in their empowered version to get that kill.
Incredible stuff. What an arrow from Elk, what a follow-up from Bin in the 2v1 no less. I will say 369 hammering him away just as the Sejuani ult flies in. Really unfortunate for Top Esports. Looking a little off kilter today. It looks like BLG have thrown this first punch, and it has sent top esports spinning for the time being.
I think so much of that has come from this Ashe. The level 1, the hawk shots, the arrows, the ability to push the lane.
Already, Meiko has the call of the Forge God. On will be that target. Look at the CC chain! Meiko and JackeyLove make a mockery of BLG.
Just talking about, oh, this Ashe causing so many problems for top esports. Gets absolutely dunked, or at least the lane partner does, in that bot lane. You cannot rule out top esports and the power of their individual players. At the same time, JackeyLove now at 2-1, got that first kill against the Renata. Of course, it is going to be the fasting center, not going to be getting too much of that. Pick up another 1v1 in top side.
Oh, so much for a counter pick. 369 is in big trouble. The Croc stacking up in the top side. Dominus not going to be enough to get a kill here. TP available for 369. He is going to head back to base, though. As Bin won't quite be able to finish that kill. Let's take another look at bot lane.
Ah, the spear misses. Spear misses. Shun, if you hit that one, maybe you just one-shot the center. That could be a skill shot, which gives top esports just a glimmer of hope in this early game. They've been blown out of the water in the early game, which is typically where they have succeeded so much. BLG have picks for early game. This is another spear on the Scuttle Crab. Not a good look, buddy. Try and hit the next one. But top esports getting themselves on the page in this early game, so important for them. If they survive through to 2 items or so, I think they can really smash through these team fights. Getting gold like that very much helps. Flash
burn by 369 there. The Renekton Nidalee, it's a classic up in the top side. 369 knows it. If the Renekton stun hits, this spear is guaranteed. Even Shun can't miss that one. That's a bit unfair. I think Shun is one of the best Nidalees
really
we've got in the
pick.
league, but just an unfortunate couple of minutes. JackeyLove has actually moved up to the top side. He's pretending not to be here for now, but the soul popping out of the minion will give the game away.
Yeah, they should know at this point. The Grubs are spawning in under a minute, so you typically do move your bot lane up there. You can see that On is also moving to that side of the map. Elk and Meiko staying towards the bot side, so they won't be a full 5v5 in top side should those Grubs spawn. BLG don't really want to give the 6 Grubs over. That would be a bit powerful of an objective lead to get through at that point. JackeyLove 369 now playing double ranged against the Renekton. He'll be able to wave clear a little bit. Then probably going to have to head back after this point. Top esports might be gifted those Grubs, because I'm not sure if Ben can really stick around and contest for that.
Feels tough for being up in that top side as the Croc in a 2v1. And like you say, Tian there alongside JackeyLove. I was going to say should set up for Grubs, but instead they're setting up for a dive in his top lane. Tian happy to tank this one. Bin dashes back under, bit of sustain there, but the damage is too much. And it's 369 to grab the kill as Shun arrives to get the wave. Wasn't sure if he'd gone too far there. Does hit a spear onto 369. On is in the area. If they want to keep pushing, I don't think they will. Shun just going to try and clear this wave, and then should be able to back over towards Grubs. But On moves in. They are going to go for this one. Of course they're going to go for this one. Looking for the handshake. 369 sidesteps it. The spear goes wide as well. And now it's JackeyLove's turn to have a little go.
Yeah, JackeyLove really helping by roaming up early, using that center. I mean, even when center has 0 items, you're still a ranged AD carry with a decent amount of burst early. You can really start to threaten.
Oh, the horn combo comes through from Meiko. Doesn't find the W in the midst, and suddenly Elk walking away, but the flash to finish the job. Meiko is 1 auto from a solo kill onto the enemy AD carry.
Meiko gives himself a celebratory barrier. Ben trying to even the score.
369 in trouble. On and Shun moving in, nowhere to go on this one. The Ignite comes in and Shun will finish the job as On tanks the tower. Nearly stepped back under the tower there, but they're okay. 369 falls. Creme TP's up. No, sorry, Meiko TP's up to the top side to catch this wave.
He does it all. He uses the barrier, gets the teleport after, goes back towards that top side. And this is now a big issue for BLG. They were really dominating the early lanes. They were getting some good combos hereabouts, but giving so much gold over the top esports on a composition which will transition into team fights very well is starting to worry me. You can see that, you know, the fact that JackeyLove has gone up into Bin's lane means that Bin doesn't have an isolated 1v1. And because Meiko is apparently just the best Ord in the world, is just solo killing everyone. He's got like a solo killer game on this pick at this point. The center ult doesn't land for the damage, but does land for the shield. Gets himself a huge kill here, and even Elk is not immune to Meiko's Ord.
And I think Meiko actually kind of baited Elk in there by using the W on the wave. He's like, oh, my Ornn combo isn't available. But he can still just do kind of a delayed finish to the combo instead of using the W for the triple knockup. And it sets up for a solo kill. Meiko, phenomenal stuff so far. It's Knight now wants a chance to get in the game himself. Little tag onto 369, but with Tian there as well, has to back away.
We have barely talked about mid lane. It's all a bit about side lane so far. We will wait and see whether Creme and Knight can get themselves any big impact in this game. We're getting towards the point where you can put your mid laners into side lanes, try and get them some side lane gold at this point. Knight has a load of gold. It's not been able to leverage it just yet. Shun on the Nidalee, 2-0 and 2, 1 stack on the Dark Seal, most gold in the game. It's very, very powerful, but BLG, again, it comes back to this question saying, okay, all right, the early game's been good. What do you do when you get to 5v5s against the Sejuani and the Ornn as that front line? You're playing with the Nidalee, you're playing with the Renekton. They do get increasingly harder to play as the game goes on. BLG have put themselves on hard mode if they don't get themselves much more of an advantage. If they use this Herald to break open a big turret, that might be it, but they might have to fight for it.
7k on that Herald, and the arrow goes in onto Creme. The flash for the handshake, but the wall of soldiers blocks it, and then Aram charges through the ranks. BLG knocked asunder by Meiko as Elk will fall as well. It's beautiful answer from top esports, and now Knight in trouble. 369, the old solo laners up against each other. Once brothers, but no longer, says Knight as he finds the kill onto his old teammate. Bin now trying to escape from JackeyLove and Meiko, who look for more. It's an absolute scrap on the Rift.
Knight showing that he can't just only move in L's like a chess piece. He hands one to 369 with love from JDG to BLG. Tian's going to stop and take this top lane turret, but he might have just overstayed. Bin can absolutely lock him in place for Shun.
Tian has stayed far too long for this one. The stun will come through, but he doesn't have any real damage to speak of. And with 3 players, Tian will fall. That will finally be the Herald for BLG. 3 grubs apiece, 1 Drake apiece, 27k gold apiece. We are practically even.
I don't really know how to pass this last fight as well. The Herald is going to go to BLG, but as we were saying, even though it kind of comes out slimly in BLG's favor, there is so much gold going over to people on top esports with the team, which will be very happy in mid-game, that I'm not willing to call this like a big victory for BLG. I think Creme managing to get the shuffle out here delays the pick for so long that BLG can't get a clean pick. They end up using multiple mobility tools to go forward, so they don't have that to go out at that point. They funnel up for this huge wombo coming in from Meiko, and oh my word, Meiko's Ornn, it just keeps delivering. Luckily, the solo laners from BLG managed to pull some back. Ben gets 1 kill and Knight gets himself now suddenly 2 kills out of the middle of nowhere. He's got 2-0 on the Yone. 369, maybe just miscalculating that one.
Yeah. Knight obviously having 1 kill from the level 1 that helped him get to a first item so damn quickly. Now with the 2nd kill on top of it. Drake coming up, not for another minute and a half here, but that will be the next objective. Looking towards where Shun ends up throwing that Herald as well, whether it will be towards that mid lane or perhaps looking for a chance onto Creme here. Knight moves over, Shun's here too, but spotted on a ward, shouldn't lead to anything.
I'm trying to think really where you want to put that Herald, and more importantly, who do you want to put that gold into? I'm trying to think of this composition from top esports. You have a very strong front line in that Sejuani and the Ornn. It can be really hard for the Renekton to act without gold, but is he really the most efficient person to put that gold into? If the Yone gets ahead, I think that's probably more valuable in regards to making a way through the front line to the back line. If your ultimate tags people in the back line, you catch everyone in it. That front line can't body block that Fate Sealed, so maybe Knight, he should be gifted that. Maybe a Herald can go towards that. Of course, though, Herald always very valuable on that mid lane outer turret if you can get that kill as well. So BLG, important decisions coming up for them, and they need to make it effectively, because if they don't get a big power play out of this Herald, I really do, again, keep harping on about this fact. You're probably getting bored at this point. If they don't get big advantages, the team fights get really, really nasty later. We just saw what the wombo looked like. Yeah. That was like a 1 item. What happens at 3?
Yeah, it becomes terrifying. It really, really does, and especially with Meiko playing the way that he is. That is a scary prospect for BLG. Like you say, they've got that minor lead. They need to turn it into a major lead. Drake spawning onto the map. Top esports will not give them a single inch without a fight.
So changing the key from minor to major, trying to make it a happier sounding song for BLG. They're leaving Ben in this top side. He doesn't run that Demolish right now on this matchup, so he's going to be just taking some damage without that. Top esports choosing to give up the Dragon Spawn, but maybe looking to shut down Bin instead. Meiko can cast the ults.
No flash up for Bin either. He's just used his slice. Won't get a dice out of this one. Call of the Forge God finds the knock-up. That's the brittle proc into the W, into 369, grabbing himself a kill. Knight will answer with a tier 1. The Drake will go down for BLG as well. The top esports happy to trade elsewhere.
Yeah, so I think BLG, they get themselves an important dragon. It's a Mountain Rift as well. If they can get themselves a Mountain Soul later, they are very, very happy with this. Knight getting gold is also valuable, but now you start to worry about what happens with the Renekton. Only 100 gold ahead of 369, who even though he's kind of dunked on in the early game, is almost even in gold with that champion. Bin is a good Renekton player. He has a good history on this champion, but 369, if he's even with him, after all of the resources put into the Renekton, BLG will probably be looking at that as a bit of a failed investment as they move forward into the mid game, where suddenly we are getting closer towards that 2 items.
It's kind of crazy that 369 has 4 deaths this game, but he's even in gold. Like, that is not something you see too often. There's been so much time.
Get you a team that can bail you out like top esports.
Seriously. Ironic, really, because Renata's over on the side of BLG. You'd think the bailout would be in their favor. But top esports still managing to make it work somehow. JackeyLove being a huge influence in this game as well. The way he's been moving around the map, the way he's been pairing up with Meiko, like that combo we saw towards Herald from Meiko. A lot of that set up by JackeyLove's route as well to make sure that the follow-up knockup can hit multiple players. Herald comes down into the mid lane. Won't end up in a tower, but will set that up for later.
It's a bit of a pain that they don't get to kill that tower on that wave, because it's going to be quite hard to move back. There's a lot of wave there on top esports. Tian support though, big ult!
Hostile takeover, and JackeyLove cleanses everything, including the arrow there. I think if Tian gets hit by that arrow, that might just be a kill, but JackeyLove tanks it for his teammate, uses that cleanse, doubles it up, double value on the summoner spell. 80 stacks, by the way, on JackeyLove, getting close to that 100 mark. As now Shun moves up to this top side. Creme, the one that has to try and escape the play this time, but a TP comes through from 369. Knight just shy on his ultimate.
Knight, I think he might have made a mistake there by leading with that Soul Unbound. If he'd just gone for the Q forwards, maybe he would have been able to stick around longer while threatening his ult there, but he was just going towards the end of that timer on that Soul return. Does get a teleport out of Meiko. It's only for the ultimate and Knight, so it's not the biggest cooldown to use at that point. Did say that BLG, shame they couldn't take that turret the last time.
Look at the CC chain onto Elk, but he flashes away from the call of the Forge God. That's a 5-minute cooldown for a, what, 90-second cooldown? I think you'll take that for the side of top esports, and also threatening on the bot side, 369. Wants to finish this tower, might just be able to. Bin can threaten him, but 369 knows how confident he is, knows he can challenge the 1v1 with Tian on that side of the map. He was happy to step up. 1-for-1 on the side lane towers.
And a lot of gold being given over to the Yone. Knight has not necessarily looked his most comfortable on the Yone. He's had a couple of those moments where he's kind of had a swing and a miss with his ultimates, but he is getting to the point where he's going to go back for, you know, another big item coming off of this. He has been given so much gold between the kills and the side lane turrets. Knight has to do the carrying. I have to say BLG have not really had to rely on the Knight to do the carrying. He's not necessarily been the first port of call. He needs to do it in this game. Has a shield bow now. It'll help him get past that front line and survive a bit longer into those team fights. If he doesn't get team fight value, I find it really hard to believe that BLG can win that fight. Bin is not going to be that much of a factor now. He's gone for the Starks on the Renekton. He'll be a delaying factor, but he won't be a carry. He has now been put behind that Jace. So much of this is on Knight. Top esports need to make sure that Yone doesn't hit their key carries.
Meiko trying to get this crab here. It's BLG. Look to contest with Shun in the area. Oh, Tien's in the area too. It's a smite off, and Tien wins it. That's a lot of vision control, but Tien might have put his life on the line for it. No full commitment from BLG. Just toying with the idea of a scrap over that crab there. 2 items now picked up by Elk as well. So this Ashe starting to get to that stage in the game. Call of the Forge got flashed by On, but it hits onto Shun, and the rest of the CC chain lands onto On regardless. Another kill for Creme.
Wonderful patience from Tian, showing what the Sejuani can do. Now you're at that kind of 2-item spot. BLG, they might look for a bit of a flank here. There's no On, they would be looking for a 4v5, and here's the arrow.
Arrow from Elk as they dive onto the backside. You said you wanted something from Knight. There it is. Another kill onto 369. JackeyLove caught by the croc, and BLG now kiting backwards as Bin tanks for the team. Creme doesn't have the damage to finish anymore.
Well, there you go. Knight gets the ult onto the back line, and BLG managed to walk away with something. Creme manages to just about save the rest of his team with a shuffle and a tower. That was well needed at that point, but BLG showing something, and it's past 20 minutes. They are going for a Baron rush. They're going for the double TP. BLG turning on the afterburners.
Tian in the area, Meiko in the area. No Call of the Forge got available though for top esports. That's their big engage tool. Tian just has to pray for a miracle. Could be a 50-50 as Meiko gets a double knockup, but Knight goes in, just starts to threaten as the rest of the team goes onto the Baron. Hostile takeover is massive, and it's a kill onto Meiko. TP comes through from 369 to join the action, but the Baron goes down. BLG in the pit as 5-1 falls as Shun chases Tian over the wall. 369 trying to find revenge, but he finds
no way!
Creme pulled back in, gets one, gets down. And suddenly 1-for-1 on the backside of the fight. Knight now trying to escape, will do so. It's abject chaos.
Catch your breath, Joe. It is a certified banger. Top Esports BLG, it had to deliver. It is delivering. BLG try and take a mile when they're shown an inch. They do get away with the Baron, but only on one person. One big fight in the mid lane. Off of Knight's big ultimate leads to that Baron start, but the respawn's coming just in time for... This is actually quite a long way into that play. See that BLG? They're trying to get a compromise between staying on the Baron and getting kills at the other side. They get a kill onto Meiko, but because they aren't killing the Baron very quickly, they're taking so much damage from it. They take so much damage from it, and it means that 369 and Creme can end up getting some cleanup damage beyond this point. It is so close, and because BLG, they do get a lot of kills alongside the one Baron, they do technically still come out ahead from this, despite the fact they would have liked to have a couple more Baron buffs to their name.
Creme absolutely smurfing in this fight, but so is Elk. Gets an arrow off at the last second and turns it around with a Kraken auto. I love watching these two teams play. They know each other so well. You know that they were scrimming leading up to internationals. 7,000 damage from Creme in the last fight. That is absurd. A third trade though for BLG, that's soul point for them, but in trade for what? Because Top Esports have pushed down the mid lane and nearly taken an in-hit tower.
They don't take it fully though, so BLG, they'll be able to rally behind their mid lane and get themselves there. BLG do have that Baron buff on Creme, who has sat their wave cling, which means that they couldn't push any harder. Top Esports, they are getting to the point where they can start the death ball now, and they've gone to Creme, they've gone to Knight.
Knight, this is not the time to be caught out. This is not the series to be caught out. A huge pick for Top Esports. I don't think there's much they can find off the back of it, luckily for BLG.
The thing with that is, though, that's the last Baron buff. BLG, they just lost their last Baron buff there. Knight ends up dying just in his own jungle. Not really sure what he was looking for there. Top Esports, they have reached the point in the game where they can deathball. This was the danger point for BLG. Do they have the lead to last this out? Well, it's only a 1,000 gold lead. They are, however, on soul point. They are going to be hanging on to that lead by their absolute fingertips, digging in the fingers to see if they can hold on to this just long enough for that dragon to come up.
The Top Esports squad find Knight alone in the jungle, and JackeyLove whispers, after all this time, as always. Oh dear, bit of a misstep from Knight. What a banger this has been. We're only in game one, and it's already lived up to all of the expectations I could have hoped for. 27 kills on the board, 26 minutes on the clock. And this is with an Azir center comp on one side of the scoreboard. It's still an absolute bloodbath on the Rift. No neutrals up for a couple of minutes. I'm not sure that'll necessarily stop these two teams fighting.
No, and particularly BLG from fighting, because they're getting to a point where the Renekton and the Nidalee are getting increasingly less value. We talked about it earlier, let's check on it now. You're not that far ahead on the Nidalee, you're not ahead at all. Nymeara's missing, that's going to be a pain. BLG, they want to get these split picks. They want to find someone with an Ash Arrow before the Death Ball gets split, set up, get a spear on target as well, and see if they can get themselves a big kill before Top Esports start to team fight them in earnest. They've done a fairly good job of finding some of those picks, but it is going to get that much harder. You're getting towards 3 items now onto big carries, and because also JackeyLove has so many kills, even though he's the fastest zone, he has 100 souls, he's at a very high range at this point. He's also got a lot of gold too. He's almost on his way to his 3rd item too, even if they are cheaper than Elks on the other side.
We're getting to the point where both sides are hitting their win conditions, right? You've got Creme close to 3 items on the Azir as well. You know, 369 very much online as that chase. Has the upgraded version of Sherilda's as well, so the poke is very real from the side of Top Esports. But Elk on 3 items, Jack Show now finished for Knight as well. These carries are no slouches, and Shun on his signature Nidalee pick. 4, 1, and 7 this game. Close to 3 items, 5 stacks on a Dark Seal. Later on in the game is where Nidalee gets hard, and that is where players like Shun have often separated themselves from all the other Nidalee players.
Yeah, it is one of those champions like your Lee Sins that scale with difficulty, with skill. They don't necessarily do less damage, but it's harder to get their big damage from 369. We were talking about how strong he is. Tian
has flash, will have to use it. Call of the Forge God used now, and Bin gets onto the flank. Hostile takeover to try and set up, but the damage isn't there. Bin the one sent packing instead as Creme looks for a little bit more and finds it onto Shun. No casualties, but Top Esports gain control.
Yeah, and Elk loses Flash. It's really, really bad. That's an arrow!
What a combo coming on in. Creme found and will be taken down, but it's in trade for Knight. No, Dash is back in the last second. Still taken down somehow. The auto followed him and on fell with him. Suddenly, Baron spawning in 20 seconds. Top Esports with control.
And even an arrow onto the carry can't save BLG. They just can't find the damage at the right moments before the turnaround comes back, and it's so dangerous to approach this. Shun, he's got to try. You've got to walk up and see what you can do. The Baron's spawning, but he might just die for the attempt.
They're just waiting for him. He had to make something happen. He had to try and find an angle. But Top Esports have all of that information too. They know he's going to be cheeky, and they punish it immediately. That will be Baron for Top Esports. Pings on towards the Drake from the side of BLG, but he's not up for another 40 seconds.
Yeah, so what BLG will want to do is get some control over bot side. They know the Baron's going over. It's going over a little slower than I thought it might do, and maybe that'll open up Assault for that. So, Elk, he gets caught out. Losing Flash on Ashe is pretty horrid against this kind of comp. It's very hard to play against that later. There is a lot of wombo available for BLG, but it doesn't hit the backline, doesn't hit Creme, doesn't hit JackeyLove, so they have to back off from that. You cannot go into the soldiers and Senna, who stood behind a front line like that. The arrow is fantastic from Elk, who catches Creme midway through an auto-attack animation. He tries to flash, but the fat fletching catches him. Luckily for the side of Top Esports, Knight also can't get back to his safety. It does mean that both of him and On go down.
Kind of look like Knight betrayed On in the replay there.
Yeah.
As Top Esports will secure themselves to Drake as well. Remember, that Drake would have been sold to BLG. There's just no way for them to realistically contest Top Esports on the map at this point. And with Azir, Senna, with Ornn items now spreading across the team, I feel the clock is ticking for BLG. And to be honest, the clock might have already struck midnight.
It's feeling a lot more like that. So BLG will need to find a way to turn back time. We will see if their Knight in Shining Armor, who has carried them so many times in the past, can be that implement of time travel. He has 3 items on a Yone. If he catches the carries, a great many things can happen. It's hard to get through that verdant barrier on Creme. I think that Banshees is a fine decision. It's quite hard to get through that one. Of course, it's very, very hard to survive if the counter-engage comes in from Top Esports at the same time. Knight has such a burden of difficulty on him, but it really feels like it is on him. Maybe on Elk hitting an arrow as well, but I think Knight, with all of the gold which he's had been gifted to him this game, needs to do the damage.
They want to turn back time. They don't need a Knight. They need a Doctor. Let's see if his screwdriver is sonic enough. Bin behind enemy lines, and JackeyLove caught. The combo is gorgeous, and they find Tian as well. Bin setting up to deny the rest of the team away. In, and the hostile takeover is enough. It's 369 that takes down his jungler, and now BLG chase for more. Turn back time. They absolutely have. The 80s hit is coming back to life once more, and Meiko will fall to make it 4. BLG find a miracle.
Somehow, someway, BLG find themselves the fight that they were looking for. It's been on the teleport. Knight hits the ultimate and On with another stellar hostile takeover to add into the wombo combo. BLG, we were wondering what had happened to this team. Were they just taking us a bit of a stage off, just sleeping through the group stage just until they get to that rumble? Well, they seem very, truly awake right now. Creme has the last Baron buff to try and wave clear. It's not going to be enough to save this turret. BLG will at least take something. They don't sadly take an inhib. It's not going to be the hugest swing in the history of mankind, but it is something. Bin, fantastic teleport. I think that Top Esports, they overstayed and they didn't do their due diligence in making sure that those wards were sapped out behind them, and this is one rare moment where JackeyLove doesn't have the cleanse. Catch him out, one of the carries is done. Bin buys up the ultimate, and of course, Knight gets the big damage onto Tian, which sets up for a bit of a team kill there. Order 66 called out, and 369, he is the one that takes him down.
Bring down the hammer indeed. Tian, unfortunately betrayed by 369 as Shun perhaps getting a little saucy in the follow-up play for just a moment, but still survives, does what's needed. A lot of gold given over to BLG there. However, like you say, no inhibs taken, no Drake was up, no Baron was up, and it means that we are still sort of in the same situation as we were before. Like, the composition hasn't got any better.
I mean, honestly, incredible credit to Bin for making some kind of late-game Renekton play. That's really hard to do, by the way. It doesn't happen that often. Gets himself a fantastic play, timed with the rest of his team's engages too. I think that is one of the real skill sets of a top-tier top laner. You have to be on the right position while the rest of your team engages, particularly on the lower mobility or lower engaged champions as well, like the Renekton in a late-game scenario when you only have that slice and dice, which can be a bit hard to manage. So BLG, they have a minute and a half until they have another crack at that soul. Knight maybe looking for something in the side lane. BLG, will they be able to find themselves another big teleport? It feels a little unlikely. Watch out for those vision wards just behind top esports lines to give BLG a better shot.
It does feel like BLG have control of vision for the time being, with Drake spawning in just over a minute. They are looking to maintain that control. Knight has TP, but he's not even going to move up to top side. He wants to be with his team. He does not want to give any angle for a potential pick.
So speaking of those picks, we do have double spell shields for the carries of top esports. That makes it a lot harder to play around the arrow. Very even, oh, well, that's one of them gone. That'll help top esports. They are, however, though, in getting into their battle lines. They have that phalanx with spears bristling at the front of it. If they can keep that with their front line really protecting their carries and the spell shield surviving, it is much harder for BLG to find anything. They need to make sure the late game center, the late gamers here are not getting value. It's really hard to do that. Baron now spawning in 30 seconds. Top esports push out mid, trying to keep their battle lines in order.
Oh, Shun caught by a shock blast here. Should walk away with his life. The Primal Surge tops him up again. It's been 2 long years since Top Esports managed to find a win against BLG. And they know it. They can feel it. They know they're on the cusp of at least a game win. Whether or not they can turn it into a series is a different question. But they've got to finish the job. Bin on a deep, deep flank once more. Drake started up here. BLG only 3 on the scene. Knight moved over towards the wave. Needs to rejoin his squad. Bin not on a flank for the time being. Needs to get over there. In the meantime, Tian trying to get onto Shun, who's zoning them away. Neither jungler actually on the Drake for the time being. 6k on the Dragon. Tian isn't in the pit, and the spike comes down. That's Martin Soul for BLG, but can they find the fight as well? Creme forced to use his ult, but Knight just dips back out as Meiko escapes on the front line. Bin walks away with his life. How has nobody gone down? BLG get a soul and lose nothing.
It's a daylight robbery. Top esports will try and get a revenge Baron, but there are double teleports from BLG. They have HP bars on Shun, Elk, and on. They don't have the ultimate, so top esports will feel a lot better about going towards this, and they'll rush it down quickly.
Knight immediately jumps over the wall and gets a tag onto JackeyLove. Bin behind enemy lines. BLG could try and look for an ace. They need to deny these Baron buffs. Top esports retreating on the top side as Tian caught in the pit here, but they turn onto Bin. Bin forced away towards the rest of his team. He can't get a flank on the Croc, but maybe they can go mid, but there's no minions. The minions are in their own base. BLG deny nothing. Top esports, they get the Baron after all.
So, no one dies. Somehow, BLG gets Soul and Top esports get themselves the Baron. BLG getting Soul really does help them in their ways throughout the rest of this game. I think El can save the inhib. The volley's going to do some decent wave clear there, and the cannons are luckily aggroed onto the minions, so that will be a mid inhib that survives. Going back to this fight, BLG, they make it very clear with this hostile takeover, it is about securing the dragon. They throw it out as a delaying tactic as Shun goes in. Even though he is rooted, he just says, all right, it's going towards the dragon, that's what I need to get, and they manage to peel back after this point. I think Knight is the unsung hero of this, though. Drags JackeyLove and Creme backwards, means they can't get up to follow her beyond the damage. I would have expected someone to die from BLG because Creme and JackeyLove were largely unhit, but honestly, Knight saving the fight.
I mean, the observers are like, hey, look, a ward, but Knight and Bin don't have TP. So
I'll
be impressed if one of them can find a TP flank onto it. But I like the placement of that ward, because TP much shorter cooldown at this point in the game. I'm not sure which one, whether TP will come back up or if the ward will time out first. Guess only time will tell. Top esports, though, with Baron, and with a range advantage as well. Wait, never mind the siege. They're just going to go for kills instead. On under the tower. And he survives the shield. At the last second, the shot blast is too short. How the hell has he got out of that one?
3 mounted dragons, a mounted soul in a dream. He manages to survive, but at what cost? 1 tower down. The rest of this Baron buff going to be used to try and break open this other inhib in bot side. The front line standing strong, really hard to get through it as BLG. And as you pointed out earlier, they don't have a teleport this time to punish Top esports if they had overpushed beyond vision, which they kind of have in this case. Creme is spotted on a ward right now, so there is a chance maybe that BLG could look for something. Those wards giving them those bits of information to try and split apart this phalanx of top esports might just give them an opening.
Bin is searching so hard to find a flank in this game, but it just feels impossible to get behind top esports. They're doing such a good job trying to clear vision. They know that no TPs were up, so they're not too worried about wards behind them for now. Bin moves up to the top side. He'll go clear that next wave. He's headed towards the Jack Show himself. I assume could be a stone play, actually. We'll have to see. But my goodness, we are properly into the late game, aren't we? We're on the cusp of 40 minutes in this one. BLG top esports, and it's going the distance.
I can't remember any game I've ever cast that has 5 Orn items in it. Meiko's at level 18. Top esports, they're not about even in gold. They're about 5,000 gold ahead. Those extra stats are ones which you get beyond your slot limit in your infantry as well. We're getting to the point where we're going to get Zephyrs built for anyone who's built Berserker Greaves. I've barely even seen any of them. BLG, they are going to be behind in those stats. They do make up for it in those dragons, though. Mountain Assault, incredibly valuable. When you have a Jack Show, which increases your percent resist as well, the Mountain Assault is going to really benefit that alongside the 3 Mountain Dragons. The amount of stats which have been given across the team are largely quite even because of that, if you put it all in order.
Again, scaling advantage you'd have to assume goes to top esports with this composition. BLG already made one miracle fight happen. Maybe it's possible. You can never quite count this team out. On, he's getting real dicey with his positioning here. There's a deep, deep ward. This time TPs are coming back up. This time there's a chance. Look how tiny Meiko is though. He's got 6,000 HP to work with.
Yep, that's the Orn which gets extra stats when you upgrade items. All those items funnel back into Orn. So much value. Top esports do need to be afraid of over-pushing again. JackeyLove is quite consistently losing that spell shield. He needs to be careful about that. No spell shield, that makes it much harder for him to play out. He has, however, got himself 160 souls. That range is utterly absurd. He is very, very long range at this point, and all the extra stats will very much help. BLG potentially looking for the flank. Bin, again, hovering in the wings, wants to try and find his way onto the back line.
I love this from top esports though. Just use the center range. You don't have to commit to anything. Anyone that's short range, just play body block or play back while JackeyLove takes down the inhib. 160 souls for JackeyLove at this point. This is a properly late game center right here. 3 items. And he goes for a red pot. He knows he's not getting any more items this game. He knows that this Elder could lead to everything. Deep ward from On. On is doing a really good job, actually, of trying to find these TP wards ready for his solo laners.
That is such an important thing in high-level gameplay. You need to see what the sweepers can do as well. Tian's going to spot that out. But look, top esports know the way they lose this is by one of these teleport flanks. They should know that at this point. There is one in lane, and that's the thing. It's not about getting them optimal ward. It's getting the ward which is least likely to get spotted. And even then, JackeyLove and Tian, they use those pink wards, and they're managing to sweep out. I mean, do they have a flank TP option now? I don't think they do. They have to go towards a minion. That would be on vision.
Unless they go on wave, I think Shun will get away with his life here. That was Meiko using Ghost from Spellbook, so don't worry about it. Vision swept by top esports off the back of the crab as Elder is on the map, and BLG have to try and stop top esports from finishing the game here. Supers will push down mid, so the longer this engagement goes on, the better for top esports. They've got sustain, they've got range. BLG have to find something special here. Elder will reset. Tian goes for his ultimate, but before the fight can even begin, it's over. Shun kicked out. Bin gets into the backline, but it's too little and it's too late. Knight gets a shield. Bin alone as the rest of the carries try and get it. Knight dives into the mix, but he can't get it done. And Elf is alone in the woods and hunted by the crossbow of top esports. That is game 1. Top esports reign supreme.
Top esports send BLG into the Ice Locker off the back of a perfect Sejuani ultimate. The fight was over before it began. The game was so back and forth, but Top esports proving they are here to fight for it.
The fact that BLG held on this long with this composition is impressive, but Top esports, I mean, they locked full scaling and they played full scaling. Fantastic, clean gameplay coming out from them. BLG, a fair attempt at challenging, but Top esports truly do look like the best in the LPL right now.
You know, top esports, we called it pretty much from the draft. You need to have early game advantages. You need to get a certain level of a lead in this game. And they very nearly did that. And they very nearly outplayed it despite that. That tells you just how good BLG are when they're on this kind of team-fighting menace team. But they couldn't quite manage to get that to happen. And top esports, real credit to them. I think they're showing one of their strongest points. They are one of the most disciplined, organized teams within the LPL. And that might just give them the edge over BLG.
How crazy is that? As I said, it's top esports is one of the most disciplined teams in the LPL. You never thought those words would be uttered, would you? But here we are, top esports 1-0. We're going to jump into our break, and then it's time for game 2.